Matt Rhule is riding a zip line. There's an In-N-Out food truck at practice and a high school weight room that would fit in the Big Ten. This must be Vegas.
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Rugiet. If you've been thinking about taking the next step, now's the time. Head to rugiet.com/lockedoncollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rugiet, ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready.
Hi, welcome. It is the Locked On Nebraska podcast here on a Monday of game week. Welcome back to game week. Yeah, it's Monday, right? Or I guess, it's Sunday night right now, but it'll be Monday when people are listening to this. But here we go. It is game week. Mitch, have you ever seen the show I Think You Should Leave?
No.
Okay. So there's a bit on that show. It's like a they do little skits throughout the show. And one of them, they put the main character, Tim Robinson, in like a bachelor
right now.
In a bachelor style situation where it's him and a bunch of other guys and they're all competing for one woman's love, right? And they do like a spoof. And the bit is the bachelorette, the woman, does not believe that he is there for love. She believes that he is there just for the zip line. And and so the key line is, I feel like you're just here for the zip line. And that thought crossed my head about a million times watching Matt Rhule zip line over Fremont Street a couple days ago.
How many times did it take you to watch the video before you were actually convinced that it was Matt Rhule flying over Fremont Street?
It was seriously wait a minute. That was him? That was
I'm still not positive that it was him. Like
it was
a stunt double.
There was a video from the Las Vegas Bowl, people, and they had him loading on there. And yeah, he got on. It was him.
Nebraska has to have a stunt double somewhere, hidden in the equipment room, who can come out and be Matt Rhule for instances like this. I mean, riding a zip line is not crazy. I've been on a zip line, but doing it over Fremont Street in Las Vegas, it adds a bit to the just kind of the whole production of it. That's I didn't see Morgan Scalley or Kyle Whittingham or whoever the coach of Utah is these days doing that. So maybe Nebraska's got a leg up going into Wednesday.
And you will not see Kyle Whittingham in Las Vegas.
He will not.
He will not be there. He'll be actually in Florida for the next couple of days because he's now the head coach of Michigan. Surprise. Last time we talked, that was not the case.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that toward the end of this pod, but we kind of want to set the table for this week in Las Vegas. We are not there in Las Vegas. We are coming to you from the cold and windy, somewhat snowy confines of Nebraska. I will be off to New Orleans later this week to cover the Sugar Bowl, an assignment from my bosses at The Athletic. So I'll be at a CFP game and watching the Las Vegas Bowl from a hotel on Bourbon Street, I suppose, and trying to avoid whatever it is or maybe I'll embrace whatever it is that happens in the French Quarter on New Year's Eve. One of our favorite listeners of the pod and just favorite people in general is in New Orleans over the break and has invited me to partake in New Orleans style festivities with him on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day.
Whoa. Who is this?
Oh, I thought you would know. This is none other than Michael Severe.
Oh, Mike. Yeah. Michael is I was like, listener of the show. Okay. Hang on. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Michael. Yeah. Awesome. You should definitely hang out with Michael. He'll definitely point you in the good direction, the direction of good food.
Yeah, he's going to take. We're going to go watch. I think the early game on New Year's Day because I've got to be at the Superdome by mid-afternoon to get prepped up on Ole Miss. I've been sitting in on Ole Miss Zoom calls this weekend to learn a little bit about the Rebels and what's going on with them before I go cover that side of the game on New Year's night. And I'll be back, hopefully back and in a seat at PBA on Friday for Nebraska hoops against Michigan State.
Wow. Yeah. And all the while in a different area of the country, in a different space, we have this impending bowl game in Las Vegas, which looks, I mean, the landing for Nebraska and Utah in Las Vegas, what was it, Friday or Saturday?
Friday. Yes.
They were greeted with the the showgirls and Elvises and things like that. There was singing and dancing. It very much looked like Vegas. And then, Nebraska's got to pull out all the stops. So they're going to go they've been practicing over at Bishop Gorman, one of the, best high schools in the country in terms of football, and obviously one of the best facilities in terms of that as well. And so they ordered a In-N-Out food truck to be there and just kind of, serve everybody burgers after practice on at least one of the days. So
why wouldn't you though?
Yeah, right. Which is just incredible. So Nebraska's pulling out all the stops. They're bringing their whole operation to Vegas. And now we just have the football to wait. They did the media availability. Looked like at the Paris there, where in front of or maybe it was just inside the Bellagio, like on the Bellagio fountain, which looked.
Yeah, there was an event. There was some kind of an event, a photo op or something at the Bellagio fountains. Matt Rhule said that he had to get out his phone and take some videos of the fountains. I mean, the Huskers were just there. At least Rhule was just there in July. That's a while ago actually, but they were just there for Big Ten Media Days. I feel like I was just walking up and down the strip at Big Ten Media Days and looking at the Bellagio fountains. And now Nebraska's back there for a bowl game. Rhule actually mentioned. I feel like I remember him talking about the allure of Allegiant Stadium and how he would love for Nebraska to play a future game at Allegiant Stadium. I think he was talking more like a future Big Ten championship game that could maybe like someday
like a playoff game or national
CFP game for sure. But they got the Las Vegas Bowl instead, and it's Wednesday at 2:30. So this is a weird week because it's Monday as you're listening to this. And the game, like tomorrow, is the day before the game. So we're going to have a week full of pods for you. We'll have some kind of a reaction, whether it's on New Year's Eve. I'll be ready to go from my hotel on New Year's Eve. I don't know what you're doing, Connor, on New Year's Eve. Maybe we'll do it New Year's Day morning before I go gallivanting off with Michael Severe into whatever is left of Bourbon Street on New Year's morning. But we will bring you a mailbag on Friday, and Friday is another huge day on the college football calendar because it is the day that the transfer portal actually opens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it happens. You've been getting news and announcements for a month now, but Friday, just January 2nd, if you can believe that, the portal actually opens.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of guys on Friday. The paperwork will come out and people will have it and all that stuff, and it'll say, "Do not contact. Don't talk to me because I already know where I'm going," and that has already been decided weeks ago. But it won't be the case for everybody. So there's a lot of fun to be had as far as that is concerned as well. And so the question is, like, to you all, the listeners, which are you looking forward to more? Are you looking forward to the game, or are you looking forward to the portal and trying to kickstart 2026 in a roster management way instead of a game way?
Yeah, I'm curious what people think about this game, and if like you said, is the game anywhere near as intriguing as what happens starting Friday for the 2 weeks that follow on Friday? Maybe you're tired of the roster management stuff and just want to know what the roster looks like come January 17th. And so you are intrigued by the game. One of Nebraska's most veteran players and somebody who's been through just more circumstances, I think, than almost anyone in this program, having played for 2 coaching staffs and been a quarterback and been a tight end now. You know who I'm talking about. It's Heinrich Harburg. He was part of the media availability on Saturday when Nebraska after Nebraska got settled in Las Vegas. This was after practice number 2 at Bishop Gorman, and he was asked about this bowl game and kind of how he looks at it. And I want to play. This is just about a 15-second clip of Heinrich's answer to how he's looking at the Las Vegas Bowl.
For me, it kind of felt like Iowa was like the end of a chapter. Maybe this is just like, I don't know what authors call that little part at the end where, it's a little extra part to the story.
An epilogue.
An epilogue. Yeah. An epilogue. Yeah. But, or like a transition, like in between chapters even, because that's, the book, I suppose, isn't over unless the 2025 season was booked. We don't have to take this whole analogy very far, but he's right. I mean, it's a game that floats in no man's land as far as
right.
what your roster is and what it's going to look like. And there's more important fish to fry for the program and stuff like that. But it is still a football game and it matters. And, if you lose it, you could brush it off your shoulders. But if you win it, I mean, you could say, hey, look what we're putting together here. So there's always stakes when you play a college football game because you only get 12 or 13 of them a year.
That's right. It's not, and I'll continue with Heinrich's analogy. It's not really a chapter. It's not really a part of the big story, but it's just kind of a little explainer to the fans and the viewers about what they should really make of this season. Like you'll have a little bit better sense of how this season is going to be viewed, or of how the book should have been viewed in the big picture after you read the epilogue, which is going to take place over 3 hours or so on New Year's Eve afternoon. So props to Heinrich for putting it in perspective. I honestly think, while there is some intrigue and we are going to pay attention on New Year's Eve to what happens and be very interested in what TJ Lateef looks like and what Nebraska's got at the running back spot. We'll get more into that kind of stuff when we get to Wednesday. We'll preview the game, the actual football part of it. But I'm more intrigued, to be honest with you, by what happens this weekend and what happens next week and what Nebraska football is going to look like, not just in 2026, but I think this portal season, these 2 weeks that are coming up starting on Friday, are going to shape the Matt Rhule era at Nebraska. Like that's like we are turning the page from Dylan Raiola and what was like the first big act under Matt Rhule, and this is Act 2, and it's probably going to be the decisive, determining period in how we see everything unfolding, how this coach in this coaching era is viewed at Nebraska, and it starts in with the furious couple of weeks coming up starting on Friday.
No doubt about it. Heavier stuff to come. But I always say that I often get mad during football seasons that every game has to be a referendum, and that's just the truth of it, right? There's only 12 of them. Like I said, every game is a referendum. This is your referendum-free weekend, your referendum-free game. That's okay. And that's sort of like a healthy, maybe it'll be a healthy sort of lackadaisical way to view a football game that we don't often get. So you could look at it that way as well. But there's no doubt heavier stuff to start on Friday.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We will talk about what's ahead for Nebraska after the Las Vegas Bowl. That's next. Right now, though, let's talk about something that most men don't want to bring up, but absolutely should. You have stress from work, from money, from life, and it just doesn't switch off at night. The stress doesn't. And when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rugiet Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rugiet Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. Rugiet Ready combines 3 clinically proven ingredients in one mint that dissolves under your tongue, so it absorbs fast. The science behind Rugiet Ready is what stands out. You have 3 clinically proven ingredients, as I mentioned, in one formula designed for both mental and physical readiness. What you do is you connect online with a board-certified doctor. Everything ships discreetly to your door. It's easy to understand why Over 150,000 men have already made this switch. If you've been thinking about taking that next step, now's the time. Head to Rugiet.com/lockedoncollege. That's RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege to get 15% off your first order. All right, thank you for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen of this day, and thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. I'm Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Connor Happer, 1620 The Zone, is with me. Connor, it's Monday, so have you recovered? I was telling you before the show that I maybe felt like things were moving fast last week, or maybe it was slow. I don't know. I was completely out of the routine. There was maybe a pod or two that we taped that I don't even remember what I said, because between all the food and all the fun and the family, and I was sick starting, I think, on Christmas Eve, and the cold medicine that I was taking. I'm sorry if I made it through a pod at any point without making any kind of sense at all.
That is the worst. And of course, you get sick literally right when the holidays start. But you sound better and seem to feel better as well. No, it is definitely the time of the year where I don't think anybody probably knows what day it is, especially if you're not working. You're certainly not working consistently right now, and these are kind of throwaway, sort of weeks. I don't know what day it is. So it was like, oh, I guess we're going to start on Monday, and it'll be Monday. Huh. That's sort of odd. But then Tuesday and Wednesday is, New Year's Eve, or I guess Wednesday and Thursday is New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. There's a football game in the middle. It's very, very weird. I have no idea what's going on.
The weekend, I think, was good for me this last weekend I did a lot of just sitting and actually I did like some normal activities. I was actually found myself on my roof at one time this weekend, because I was removing decorative items from my roof, lights and exterior lighting, things like that, because it was 60 degrees on Saturday afternoon. Probably should not have been up there when I consider the fact that I was medicated again for I think I might have had the flu, actually. So Zach, yes, my 15-year-old, I took the family with me to Kansas City the week before. They had tickets expecting to see Nebraska volleyball in the Final Four. This feels like a month ago, but it was like barely a week ago. And pretty sure he caught the flu or something in there a couple of days there, and then gave it to me when we all got back and reconvened in Nebraska. And then I who knows, I maybe gave it to 100 people at the holiday events. There were not 100 people at any place that I ever was, but it was tough, and I'm glad to be through that.
Okay, what do we got? What else are we hitting here in this segment?
So you may have noticed over the past couple of days more portal entries. Here's some names that you could be familiar with. Tight end Ben Bramer from Iowa State and Pierce, Nebraska, a former Nebraska commit, is in the portal. Defensive end James Williams from Florida State, former Nebraska player, in the portal.
Probably not coming
back.
Tight
end, he's not coming back to Nebraska, no. Tight end, bridges have been burned. Tight end Caden Helms from Oklahoma, formerly of Bellevue West. He's in the portal. And this is not even the tip of the iceberg when it comes to illustrating the activity that has already occurred and will occur later this week when the portal opens. We kind of touched on this in the first segment, but things are about to get crazy. And Nebraska at this point, Matt Rhule said in his first media availability in Las Vegas that, or maybe this may have been this may have been after Nebraska's second practice. And he said, in discussing some of the things that have happened for the Huskers this month in the portal or around the portal, that he's not even sure how to handle some of this stuff as it comes up. Like, he recommended to one or two of his players who wanted to go to Las Vegas and participate in practices and maybe the game this week to hold off on making their announcements. And then when Rhule started to see all of these announcements, the news just pour out into the public, he went back to those guys and said, hey, you might as well just go ahead and announce it now. And you can still come with us to the game. Nebraska has been actively helping players like Maverick Noonan, like Tristan Alvano, like Marcos Davila find spots that they can land at next season while they go through, in some cases, practice for this Las Vegas Bowl. It's just such a weird dynamic.
Yeah, it is. And Nebraska's been fortunate, I think, in a lot of ways that they haven't been outside of the one big one from Dylan Raiola. They haven't been hit by these massive like bombshells that are going to throw this thing off course yet. I think we all expect that there's going to be a few players who you don't want to lose that go into the transfer portal on January 2nd when it opens. But it is interesting that it hasn't happened yet, given all of the announcements and you know. So I don't know. Maybe I feel less strongly about that now than I did a week or so ago before Nebraska left for Las Vegas. There's, with that being said, I mean it'll still happen and all those different things, but. You know, if there was people that were calling, you know, if there was other schools that were calling some of Nebraska's starters and their best players, and you know, tell them to go into the portal and we'll give you a really good offer or something like that, then they could have announced their intention to go into the portal already, and then Nebraska would have had an opportunity to jump back in on this, and that hasn't really happened yet. So that's sort of fascinating to me.
It is. And I still think it'll be a weekend of some disappointment for Nebraska with a few names that enter. I don't know. I'm not sure, to your point, why we're in this spot, where we haven't really heard more. I don't know if in some cases maybe you don't, when you're at Nebraska, you're not yet at the place where you take participating in a bowl game for granted. So there are some guys who want this bowl experience, want to be with their teammates for one more game before they head off, because certainly there are some who are going to enter the portal after the bowl game. The question is just, are they going to be frontline players that Nebraska can ill afford to lose? And if it does lose one or two or more of those players, then it's just going to have to work all that much harder in the portal to replace them. You may have noticed on Sunday, Owen Chambliss is a name that went into that announced his intentions to go into the portal. This was after San Diego State was torched on defense without Rob Orich. Nebraska's new defensive coordinator was not running the defense for the Aztecs on Saturday in the New Mexico Bowl, but North Texas ran up 600 yards against San Diego State. So like that's not like a great sign, but I also don't think that it's bowl season. It probably doesn't matter much. But anyway, Owen Chambliss went into the portal, a big time linebacker for San Diego State this year, who I would expect will definitely at least have conversations with Orich and Roy Manning, the edge rushers coach. Chambliss is more of an inside backer, but he would know Manning about the possibility of coming to the Big Ten and joining Nebraska. He would be a welcomed addition for Matt Rhule's team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of guys who, I mean, there's going to be guys that we don't even know about yet who are are connected to this series of coaches that Nebraska hired and things like that Nebraska could go out there and find. So as Rhule said a couple of weeks ago, the portal giveth and the portal taketh away. And right now it's only had the opportunity to taketh away. Right. So keep that in mind as we open things up on Friday.
Yeah. I mean, soon enough, there'll be news about a quarterback visiting Nebraska or a couple of quarterbacks visiting Nebraska, and they'll be looking for commitments. This stuff will happen fast. Like you want to, if unless you are a superstar, you want to claim your spot. Like the music will start and the seats will start to fill up fast. Like there are so many players that are either already in, having declared their intentions to go in the portal or will do that this weekend. And then each school has limited spots, which lends credence to what Rhule was suggesting for his players like a Maverick Noonan or a Tristan Alvano, to just go ahead and make the announcement now, because you want to get word out there that you're available. If you don't want to be in a spot where you go in on the same day that 500 other people do on Friday, and perhaps you get lost in the shuffle a bit, and then 2 weeks down the road, you're still waiting for the right spot. So the faster that you can do it, the earlier that you can get word out there as a portal prospect, the better. And then the sooner that you can get on campus and start making visits, the better as well. You'll see some players on campuses this weekend, even with the portal opening on Friday. I would think on Friday there will be visitors. Rhule was asked about that. Also in his interview in Las Vegas, and he said, we probably won't have anybody in on Friday, because that would really speak to like contact that's not supposed to happen taking place behind the scenes. But I don't know. I don't even know if I agree with that. I say, if you can get somebody in on Friday, like if you're having conversations with their agents right now, which is totally legal, then go ahead and get them in on Friday. Bring them to Lincoln, have them there on Friday night when Nebraska, Michigan State play basketball.
Yeah, who cares? Optics are out the window, and that's, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of guys who already know where they're going. So who cares if they visit on the first day when the portal is actually open?
Yeah, many of these players won't even need to make visits. Like they just know. It's been worked out. They have a contract in front of them. So, and that there will be schools that are looking to looking to get visitors in like the second that it's allowed this weekend, whenever that is, Friday, Saturday, whatever.
All right, we got a couple more notes, including a jean wearing new coach on staff, and a potential burger debate coming up next. But first, a word from the FanDuel Sportsbook. Ladies and gentlemen, Fridays already feel a little different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off NBA weekend. It's called NBA Happy Hour, your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. So Fridays, 5 to 6:30 Central, appointment viewing for NBA Happy Hour with these new broadcast deals and rights and stuff like that. The NBA is taking center stage on Friday night. So you open up the FanDuel app during happy hour, and it's going to bring you something new like boosts and bonuses and surprises. The timing is fantastic. As always, adds a little energy to that Friday night of NBA viewing without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app, see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday, 5 to 6:30 Central Time. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. NBA Happy Hour on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, welcome back here on the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Connor Happer, Mitch Sherman with you. Dave Tollefson is the jean-wearing SOB on staff. David's
saw a picture of him, and I think he had cowboy boots on. Yeah, he
has been a friend of the local media, quite for a long time, and an excellent guy and a great guy to talk to, and super.
Do you know Dave?
Nebraska? Yeah, he's come on the show a bunch of times, and we just talk football. Yeah.
So he played for the Giants, and was that his only team in the NFL? That's what he's most known for.
May have been more. I think we had him on the Super Bowl before the Super Bowl last year, and he just told a bunch of Super Bowl stories. I think he played for maybe some other teams
from California,
famously for the Giants. When they won the Super Bowl.
Right. He's from California, and just ended up settling in Omaha, because I believe his wife is from here. Anyway, he's lived in Omaha for quite a while, since 44 years old, presumably since retiring from the NFL. Played in college at Northwest Missouri State, so had some connection to this part of the country. Probably met his wife at Northwest Missouri State. I would imagine many Omaha types go to college there. Anyway, Dave Tollefson had a bit of a connection with Matt Rhule because of their shared history with the Giants. I believe Rhule said that as he was leaving the Giants, Tollefson was coming into the Giants, and Nebraska had a need for some help with D-line coaching this month. Backwards hat wearing Matt could not handle all of that, and Tollefson came on down to Lincoln and impressed them enough, or they enjoyed being around him enough. Maybe they impressed him enough that he wanted to stick around and head on out to Vegas and continue. And he might continue in some sort of a role with Nebraska beyond the bowl week.
Yeah, which would be awesome. I mean, they haven't been afraid to do stuff like that before. Just bring in helping hands, whatever it might be, to to add any sort of insight that they can. They've gone back to the well of former Huskers a whole lot. Dave is not, but certainly has
adopted Nebraskan. He's a Nebraskan,
but adopted Nebraskan, and certainly has many connections to the staff over the years. So it's a great fit, I think, for everybody. But I did see the pictures of him wearing the jeans while coaching football was just incredible stuff.
This is how Brett Maher, who is a former Husker, got involved back with the program, was just to do it on a part-time basis, helping out with the kickers, and then was brought on full time. So we'll see what happens with Tollefson as the weeks and months progress. So we mentioned earlier in the show that Nebraska brought an In-N-Out food truck to practice on Saturday. And there's a fun interview that you can find on Nebraska's social feeds with Kristen Coggin, the director of nutrition, talking to Jessica Cootie about why they have In-N-Out there. And Kristen does a great job of mixing the healthy things and the necessities for Nebraska football players to eat to get all of their nutrients, and also allowing them to enjoy food. And that's what, and they also need to eat a lot of food, because many of them are large individuals who burn a lot of calories. So, so throwing down a double as a snack after practice is like no big deal. And that's what they were doing. It sounds like Matt Rhule went for the protein packed burger without a bun type of meal. That was Kristen's recommendation to him anyway. So Cam Lenhart was asked about the In-N-Out, the presence of In-N-Out after practice, and Cam, being a New Yorker who attended high school in Florida, said never had In-N-Out. He's a Shake Shack guy. What do you think? Taking Cam's side, or are you taking like the West Coast side of this, where the Huskers from California, that Sierra Wright and Andrew Marshall and Justin Rhett, who was a Las Vegas high school graduate from Bishop Gorman, actually, those guys are standing in the corner of In-N-Out.
So I'm an East Coast guy. I was born in New York, and that doesn't have any impact on my burger taste. I just think that Shake Shack tastes better, and it has far superior fries.
And there's not a whole lot of debate about the In-N-Out fries. They're not
every time I go to Vegas, which I just was a month ago, I stop at the Shake Shack on the Strip, and I did. It was delicious. The In-N-Out is a little bit more difficult to get to, just depending on where you're staying. There's one at the link, and then there's one off the Strip, or you could get of course the truck that just comes to link, you, which is nice if you're a Nebraska football player. But yeah, I think Shake Shack is better. It's my style of burger. Shake Shack, I always tell people, is my choice out of the fast casual burger wars. Shake Shack is my choice, and the nearest one to Omaha is Kansas City.
I went to a Shake Shack in Times Square a couple years ago and just got a shake. So I don't think I've ever had a Shake Shack burger. I've had an In-N-Out burger many, many times. And if you are from Texas, or if you're Patrick Mahomes and you quarterback the Kansas City Chiefs, then you are a Whataburger fan, and you just bring a Whataburger into Kansas City. So you could have a Shake Shack or a Whataburger in Kansas City. If I'm to understand you correctly, that there are Shake Shacks in Kansas City. Can't get it In-N-Out there. So, but in Texas, I suppose you could probably get all three. They have In-N-Outs in Texas, and obviously that's the home of Whataburger. So I'm definitely partial. Although my sampling is incomplete to In-N-Out when it comes to the actual burger that you eat.
It's fine. It's fine. I'll eat it. And if I'm in Vegas or something like that, like I'll even go out of my way to have it or whatever, because we don't get it around here. But usually for me, the Shake Shack one when I go to Vegas is more convenient given the hotels I usually stay at. So that's where I find myself, and it's awesome. Yeah. I love it. I love it so much.
Okay. All right. Well, that might be the end of the burger debate for the show this week. We'll see. We'll see if any of the conversation continues on Monday when the Nebraska coaching staff takes its stance at the podium after practice at Bishop Gorman. We're going to hear on Monday from Dana Holgerson and I want to know what Dana's doing in Vegas.
Oh yeah.
We're going to hear from
badly.
And I hope questions, I won't be there to ask questions, but I hope questions are asked, like, not just on this trip, but what are some of your favorite memories from other trips to Las Vegas? We're going to hear from Phil Snow. We're going to hear from Jeep Wade. And who else? Mike Eckler is going to be at the microphone. I am so sad that I'm not going to be there to see that in person.
Oh yeah, get ready. Tuesday is going to be a fun show. We'll have a lot to talk about.
We'll have a reaction from those guys, and we'll also talk a little bit about Kyle Whittingham going to Michigan and what we think of that, what it might mean for this bowl game, and what it might mean for the Big Ten in Michigan, because Nebraska will, at some point, presumably, see Kyle Whittingham on the Michigan sidelines. So,
yep.
That is all for us today. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to join us tomorrow. We'll have reaction from all of those coach interviewers and whoever else might have something to say on site at the Las Vegas Bowl. For those of you on video, we're going to send you now to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And on audio, make sure your second listen is the Locked On College Football Show. Thank you for joining us today.